Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, wherever you are, you know the drill. This broadcast is coming at you live on the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. And again, I do welcome you all. We're going to be heading into another interesting realm tonight. We're going to be talking crop circles with my guest, G.S. Bobroff. That is Gary Bobroff. He's going to be joining us tonight after the break, and we're going to have a really good conversation. I have placed, now with this new website, it is so much easier to make it easy for all of you. And if you go over to the top tab on the website, where pictures is, you'll see a drop down. You can click on tonight's show pictures. You'll see those pics there. They're crop circles, and there's also links where you can go see video and get to the guest website. Of course, you can also get to our guest website on the homepage, and that is www.lnmradionetwork.com, and by tomorrow, www.latenightinthe.midlands.com will also take you there. It'll all be one, the way it should be, because I'll tell you, I got to give props to Ira and Jolene for the incredible job that they have done with the Late Night in the Midlands website. It's amazing. Listen, I like my last guy. I'm not going to bash him. At all. But we had a failure to communicate, which was the problem. We were on different sides of the globe. So at least now, I'll tell you, this is what I wanted. What we see now over on www.lnmradionetwork.com, that's what I envisioned for a long time now, and I finally got there. So thank you to Jolene and Ira. I appreciate that, and to their kids for putting up with all the hours they've put in. Folks, a couple more things. First off, thank you to those of you who have donated. I appreciate it. You just don't know how much we appreciate it. We put a lot of work into this. We really do. And you all make it possible by donating, and we thank you for that. And of course, your subscriptions help as well. Not as much as the donations do right now, because we don't have enough, but I have a feeling that's going to pick up too. You know, if you're going to get a subscription, and to, basically you're doing it, most likely you're doing it because you want to support the show. That's why I did it back in the day when I subscribed with Art Bell. I did it because I loved the show and I didn't want it to go anywhere. So I made sure it stood, and I did my part. And so if everybody does that, we'll always be here, and so will at least most of the shows that are here now. You never know. Things change. But, folks, if another way to donate, if you want to send, say, a check or a American money order, you may do so you could jot this down, or you can go over to our donation page, and I will have it up there shortly if it's not there already. 1535 Platte Springs Road. And you're going to, the number sign, make sure you add that number sign, 3458, West Columbia, South Carolina, 29171. That's another way, because I get people who say, I don't want to use PayPal. I don't want to use my credit card. I mean, and I can't blame people for having that internet paranoia. I mean, it's well deserved, trust me. But so we've made another way for you to do that. And again, you could find it on the donation page. I don't have to keep repeating it here. The call-in number, however, that's on our website as well, but I'll repeat it anyways. It's 803-317-2264. We'll take calls a little later on in the show as we get talking about these crop circles, which I find absolutely fascinating. And what I do before a show is I spend the entire day, you never know enough. Just when you think you know enough about something, you don't. So I always refresh. I go and I spend the day looking through everything I can that my guest has made available to me, whether it be through their websites or what they send me privately. And then I, of course, go outside of that and look at other stuff too. I want to see what the main ideas are on these things. And I'll tell you what, I've watched some pretty amazing video on these crop circles, and I don't know, I can't say what it is that's doing it. Of course, we can speculate. There's even video of these, but we'll get into all that anyways. But I'll tell you, it's just an amazing thing. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I do have some news, and it is posted on the website at Late Night in the Midlands. At www.thelnmradionetwork.com. This news is posted at. By tomorrow, you'll find it at both websites because they're going to be combined. So it'll make it a little easier. It'll make it easier for me, too, because I have to keep mentioning two websites, and it stumps me because for years, all I've ever had to say was latenightinthemidlands.com. We did used to have the .info, but I gave that one up real early during when we started this show and moved to a .com. But so now I got to remember other stuff, and being I won't say every time I say old, I consider myself anywhere near old. I get hate mail from people who yell at me for dare say that I'm old at my very young age. So I won't say that, and I'll get to the news. Amtrak train. Thought to be going twice as fast as it should have been. It was it could have been a lot worse than it was, yes. There was 238 passengers on this train, and apparently so far, from what I understand, 7 have perished in this accident. And I say it could have been a hell of a lot worse. And thankfully it's not. You know what I haven't seen? Maybe I haven't looked in the right places, but I haven't seen all the conspiracy theories coming out about it yet. Who knows? I don't know. Another false flag. Well, folks, the track's old. The train crashed. The driver was going too fast. That's what happened. No terrorists, no FBI, no CIA. Just a train that crashed. And unfortunately, 7 people lost their lives. 238 people. I don't know how many are injured. Some are in critical condition, but so far 7. They say at least 7 dead, and you can find that under news and discoveries on LNMradionetwork.com. Survey. This survey was taken. It says more than 40% of beehives died in past years. So they did a survey with all these beekeepers, and more than 40% of the beehives died in the past year. People, we're on this little thing we call a planet. Everything we need to live, everything we need to stay healthy, it's all here. It was all given to us. Every last bit of everything we needed was given to us. And we're just destroying it. Absolutely destroying it. And when these bees are gone, we won't, we'll be following not that long after. But 40% of beehives died in the past year. And you could blame them on, say, they're trying to blame things like global warming and pollution, and let's go right to the source. Hello, Monsanto, and all the garbage that you've got people spraying, and it's these bees have gotten addicted. I just read a study, I think it was last week, where they think now that the bees were getting addicted to this chemical that's in the poison. So they go nuts for it, and of course it kills them off. Now I don't know, but I do know that these pesticides are killing off these bees, and we're going to pay for it if it keeps up. More than 2 out of 5 American honeybee colonies died in the past year, and they say, surprisingly, the worst die-off was in the summer, according to a federal survey. Since April 2014, beekeepers lost 42.1% of their colonies, and those are the ones I want to hear from, the beekeepers, not the federal surveys. You know how that goes. So, but the beekeepers, they've all said they've lost 42.1% of their colonies, the second highest loss rate in 9 years, according to an annual survey conducted by a bee partnership that includes the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So this is some serious stuff, folks. And I'm not a fan of bees. I don't like them, not one bit, but I know we need them. If you want to kill something off Monsanto, the mosquitoes would be good. But no, instead they're making modified mosquitoes and genetically modified mosquitoes and putting those in, and even little robotic ones that they've got out there. I'm telling you, it's getting crazy. End times, not biblically. No, I don't think biblically, but something like that, yeah. Mom sues school district over son's arrest for NRA t-shirt. Good for you, Mom. Get him. The mother of a West Virginia middle schooler who was suspended for wearing a National Rifle Association t-shirt to school, is suing the Logan County Board of Education for allegedly violating her son's constitutional rights. They wanted him to turn his shirt inside out. They said, turn the shirt inside out. Well, the boy obviously was raised like some of my kids are and refused. And so, they suspended him. This mother filed the lawsuit on behalf of her son, who was charged with disrupting the educational process and obstructing an officer in 2013, because the officer told him flip his shirt and he wouldn't do it. When he refused, he's lucky he didn't get shot, this kid. When he refused to turn his NRA t-shirt inside out, the Charleston Gazette reports that's when things got ugly. So those charges were later dismissed by a judge, but the mother, or the son, I think, was forced. Yeah, the son was forced to serve a 1-day suspension for his defiance. That's not too big of a deal, but it's bullying. Aren't all these ads out here about anti-bullying? That's bullying. You're going to go up to a kid in school and say, I don't like what's on your shirt, flip it over. That's bullying. That's what that is. So they're just bullies. So get them, Mom. Protect your son. Protect your rights. Protect your constitutional rights. Your human rights, if you will. Here's another poll for you. And this one might wake you up a little bit. But 59% of Russians view the U.S. as a threat. I'm going to say that again. 59% of Russians view the U.S. as a threat. You see how a lot of people here, especially the ones who are watching Fox News and such, that are so worried, the Russians are going to invade well, apparently they're thinking the same thing. After spending all day Tuesday in Shaky in talks with Russia, or with Russian President, rather, Mr. Putin, Secretary of State, the extraterrestrial-looking guy himself, John Kerry, is in Turkey, filling in NATO allies on the substance of those talks. Kerry and Putin tried to ease tensions, it says, that have grown between the United States and Russia over the continuing crisis in Ukraine. Well, they don't talk about the crisis in Ukraine. Well, we got other ones, too. How about the crisis in Afghanistan, the crisis in Iraq, the crisis, the whole Middle East? How about the crisis in the whole Middle East, of course, sponsored by the United States? So you can see why they're concerned. And for the Russian people, I feel your concern. I know, I'm concerned too. As an American citizen, I'm concerned that we have a government that has gotten out of control. And I assure you that we, the people, do not support the actions of this government and what they're doing to other countries around the world. I don't support it, not one bit. I love the men and women who are brave enough to step up, but unfortunately, they don't understand what they're really fighting for, and it's a shame. So, they're concerned over there. I'm concerned over here, too. And because when it comes down to it, and I'm speaking to everybody around the world here, the people, not the governments, but we're We're pawns. We're all just play pieces to their board. I mean, to their war games. I mean, that's all we are. We're like digital numbers to them. Oh, I lost 25,000 people. Ha 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 ha. Oh, let's see if we could take more people from the... I mean, that's basically what it is. You got power mongers sitting behind all the controls with their fingers on the buttons, and you and I are the targets. Russian people, Chinese people, American people, all of us. We're all targets. Every one of us. Of those who said the U.S. is a threat, 31% are worried about the possibility, get this, the possibility of an American invasion and occupation of Russia. I honestly don't think it would be so easy to just go and occupy Russia. If this happened, folks, look, if anything like this happens, and I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming. Not that, I don't know. You want to say that whatever you want to say. I say that they're all working together. We're just a bunch of pieces to their big toy, and that's it. That's all we are. And so I think it's coming. I think it's already started. If you live in other parts of the world, World War III started for you a long time ago. When you're in a country like this, that's, let's face it, they're behind a lot of these things that are going on. I hate to say it, but it's true. Eventually it's going to come to our doorstep too. Bottom line. NASA solves mystery of bright spot on Ceres. New photographs have provided information and important new clues to help solve the riddle of the mystery of the bright spots. Well, they've determined that there's something very reflective on the surface, and a lot of something. I mean, I think we already knew that, didn't we? But they claim that it might be ice. They don't know, and they're going to keep investigating to find out exactly what it is. It's probably ice. It's either that or there's a bunch of aliens who are on that planet right now, and they've all got little pieces of broken mirror, and they're shining it up, saying, hey, you guys left us here like over 2,000 years ago, and you never came back like you promised. They probably don't know that we blew ourselves up or something. Anyways, they're looking into it. They're trying to figure out what it is. They think it might be ice. It probably is. Probably is. Or so them aliens. Scientists sample 1 million year old air. Yeah, ear. Not your ear. Your air. A snapshot of the past has been found in the form of a bubble frozen in the Antarctic ice. The bubble, which is providing scientists with a unique glimpse into what the Earth's climate was like, say over 1 million years ago, was discovered inside the ice. This is all messed up. Let me try this again. They drilled a core through the ice and discovered inside different gases. Let's see, they got carbon dioxide, methane that were trapped and preserved. And they say here, again, it's broken up. So, folks, I'm going to give you my own version. But they say here that the analysts discovered that there was a strong connection between carbon dioxide levels and glacial cycles. So, naturally, they're saying that they're confirming that your SUV is causing the planet to go crazy. They say that even 800,000 years ago, it was 100 less than it is now in the air. And I'm trying to get to, I want to give you the exacts. Okay, they found it was around 400 ppms. They says about 800,000 years ago, within that time frame, it never got up past 300 ppm. So we're at 400 ppm now. So we got this worked out. Put this puzzle back together. Yeah, so 400 is where we're at. 300 is where it was. And so this extra 100 apparently is from us. And I admit that, a lot of it is. Some of it is, anyways. I mean, let's face it. We're not doing justice for our air. We're polluting it, our water. But, there's other factors, too. There's weather modification. That's certainly making changes in it. And don't nobody tell me that it's not true, because it is. Chemtrails, it's not a fairy tale. It's a chemtrail. It's real. So that's a factor. Volcanoes going off, certainly that's a factor. How about all the carbons coming out of the ocean? So, I mean, there's a lot of factors. I mean, it wasn't, a few years ago, Mars got up to 40 degrees. I mean, that's a big warm up there, right? So what caused it? Who's driving around with SUVs there? So, I don't know. Anyways, all this is linked up on the LNMradionetwork.com. Go check it out. And again, by tomorrow, you could type in LNMradionetwork.com or LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Either one will take you to our new website. So, folks, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I will be talking with my guest, Gary Samuel Bobroff. And I'll tell you a little bit about him before we even go to the break here quickly. Gary has an MA, grew up in the province of Saskatchewan, I'm trying, in the Canadian city of Saskatoon, the Paris of the Prairies. He studied philosophy at the University of British Columbia, graduated in the Institute of Santa Barbara, California. That is the Julian Philosophical. You know what? I'm trying, folks. Anyways, he has been privileged to visit crop circles in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. Gary gives presentations and workshops on his topics. You can keep up to date with his work online at www.facebook.com/Jung and Crop Circles. So, folks, we're going to take that break. We'll come back with Gary, and he could certainly do a lot more justice for his background. And and he's been on the show before, so this isn't the first time. So, folks, we'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver. Liquid Dentist GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and and more. Oxy Silver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from thecureshop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at cureshop.com. That's cureshop.com with 2 P's. CURESHOPPE.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, and very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Do it all. It's so important to me. So if you know, folks, if you would send in more, it'd be nice. I gotta have a wider selection before I could totally eliminate. The music industry wants to rob you to use the music, of course. So what I do is I sometimes I use it, but then I take it out of the podcast. So when you go back to listen, the music won't be there. But yeah, it is important because I know that they're out there somewhere, and I think my guest tonight knows they're out there somewhere. We're going to be discussing crop circles, and he's waiting to come on, so we're going to bring him on here in just a moment. Don't forget the website, www.latenightinthemidlands.com or lnmradionetwork.com. Either one of those we'll get you to the same site starting tomorrow. As of tonight, I am over on the LNMradionetwork.com site. And, of course, we've got the chat and listen page. If, folks, you got any questions about anything, you're welcome to email myself or Ira. You're going to have to get Ira to get his email up there right next to mine on the website. So you can email either one of us. And we'll do our best to help you with any changes that we've made. So with that, the call-in number is 803-317, had to think about it for a second, 2264. Again, that's 317-2264, area code 803. Gary Samuel Bobroff, our guest tonight, and I am going to bring him on. Don't forget, you can go to the pictures tab up on top of the website, and there'll be a drop down. Go to tonight's show picks, and if you go to that, you'll see the pictures of the crop circles, and I'll tell you, they're the real pictures. This is real stuff. People aren't walking around with boards on their damn feet. Okay, maybe there are some moron somewhere doing that, but that's not the case. Okay, these are intelligent. But anyways, I'm not going to tell you about it. My guest will. So why don't I get him on right now? Here we go. Good evening, Gary. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing just fine, and it's a pleasure to have you back on Late Night in the Midlands.
My pleasure to be here with you. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Crop circles, I'll tell you what, I have a better grip on it now than I think I did before. I've spent some time on your website today and watched the videos, and just amazing stuff. So before I get off on a rant here, why don't I first start out with some background with yourself and
yeah.
What got you started in all this?
With crop circles?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I think like most people, Michael, I was really interested in them in the 90s. The way we all kind of were, we just saw them, I heard about them at that time and went online and looked at the pictures back then and, was interested in it and knew a little bit about it. And then when I was in grad school studying Jungian psychology, I had to write a paper, and this idea just kind of hit me, having to do with connecting them with crop circles and Jungian psychology and putting those two pieces together. And that's when this whole bigger journey started for me, with that very first paper for school there.
I see. Now, these crop circles, from what I was watching, a lot of them, I used to see them like in Google Images and stuff, and I used to think, that can't be real, because some of them, looked like the Hanukkah candles. But then I get over into some serious researchers like yourself and look at your sites, and I compare, and it's like, wow, that is real. They are doing this.
Yeah, it's strange, I think it's the kind of thing, really what I'm interested in is the psychology of how we handle how blown away we get by them, and, how challenging it is for people to deal with them. And I think, like you're saying with that particular image, I think you're talking about one that kind of looked like a menorah. And, but all of us, I think, have certain crop circles that just their visual aspect sometimes, is hard for us to let into our belief system to be real. And certainly a lot of them are fake and made by people. But, when we get these real ones out there that can look so, complicated and whatnot, it really is... it can throw us for a loop a little bit, especially if we're sort of used to them being a certain way. If we like our crop circles to look a certain style, and then something else comes along, it also almost feels like there's maybe different artists on the other side of the canvas or something like that, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's exactly. It really is art. It's incredibly beautiful stuff, and it's and I seen where I guess one year they did like some kind of symbols, and another year they did these like insects. They looked like bugs, and where I guess tell me as much as you can about this. What's the conclusions or the thoughts on all this? And it could be so many things.
Yeah, well, like I said, for me, my main interest is the psychology of how we respond to the phenomenon. And where I started off with in my book was I went, chapter 1 is the science of crop circles. So, what do we know about the science? And there's, not only is there places like BLT Research where they've gone and really looked at a variety of different aspects of the science, including cellular changes to the seed heads, germinal changes in how the seeds grow when you put them in a controlled, seed development chamber, and watch them over time and compare the same field seeds from outside and inside the crop circle and at the center, and what that looks like, and they see different growth. They see different results. The wheat that's been inside the formation does sometimes appear to grow more, develop more quickly and more strongly than the controls outside. So, there's so much science. That's just one aspect. And, you start with people like BLT who've looked at that, and then you find so much other evidence in the history of people talking about their experiences of crop circles and feeling the electromagnetic energy and seeing evidence of that, and seeing batteries, whether it's video camera or cell phone, dying or being drained, or cell phone, works fine outside the formation, doesn't work inside it. All this kind of stuff, when you gather it all up, there's just a tremendous body of evidence that you can then feel like, okay, well, we're grounded. We know that there's something mysterious going on here, that all you'd really need is one of these categories of evidence to be true. But we've got germinal, we've got cellular, we've got the physical changes to the plant themselves, the way that in a genuine crop circle the wheat's not just pushed down or snapped over or broken over, but that the wheat itself is actually, still alive, but it's bent at the nodes or the joints. It's as if someone told the wheat, bend over. So all that together, all that evidence together, it just keeps adding up, and you can really feel grounded and move forward into the mystery from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, if somebody was, say, strapping boards to their feet, which I said in the beginning of the show, there might be a couple morons out there trying something like that, but they're not going to make what I'm looking at with boards on their feet. And,
right.
And if they did, they'd be breaking these stems. They wouldn't be just... these things are bent ever so gently, and they're hovering just above the ground, right?
Well, yeah, they tend to... You'll see in a genuine formation, you can see occasionally there'll be even as strong as a 90-degree bend at the root node, so that the wheat is actually, it's still alive, but that the nodes themselves are bent. And when you find those inside a formation, you're looking at the real deal, because all the crop around it is standing straight up, but the stuff inside isn't broken or snapped. There's just bends in the wheat itself that's still alive, and that's completely amazing. Now, there are really well-coordinated teams that go out there in the English fields at night and do hoaxes. And they're very good, and they're beautiful, and they can be quite large, and they're out there, with GPSs and all kinds of gear and making, doing really fantastic jobs of it. But, they can't fake this kind of stuff. I mean, you also see microscopic magnetic particles fused into the wheat in some formations. So, there's all these different categories of evidence that aren't present in a hoaxed crop circle. And so, when we get grounded in that way and understand that there are, like I said, you just need one of these types of evidence to know that you're dealing with something beyond the human. And we've got multiple kinds of that evidence. So, in addition to all of the reports that people have had about, their own experiences and all the weird stuff that people report as well. And then in chapter 2 of the book, I get into the history, and we look at some of that. So, there really is a way that if you start with the science and history, you can get grounded like you have done doing your own work. And I think, Michael, that's such a good example for your listeners, because I see there seems to be so many folks these days that, they'll look at the title of an article and then start their comment, about, I'll read a crop circle article online or something, and, people obviously haven't even read the article, but they're saying, oh, it's all a bunch of rubbish or whatever, and that's the kind of thing that it's very easy for people to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't involve them doing any of their own work. And if you want to meet these mysterious phenomenon that are around today, whether it's crop circles or synchronicity or, different genuine mysteries that are available to us today, most of them demand that we participate ourselves, that we actually do our own homework and, get up and, put our big boy, big girl pants on and actually take responsibility for thinking about something ourselves, rather than just saying, oh, it's all baloney and repeating the same kind of easy answers that are, only take about 5 minutes to find on the internet, so to really do the work, it's admirable. And I just talking with you about it, it makes such a big difference when you go and do and look and, start to look at the images and look at the evidence for yourself. I mean, that's the journey that I think, and I would encourage everyone to take for themselves.
Well, I agree. I think in this business, all too often, hosts will think that they know enough about a subject, and as far as I'm concerned, I never know enough about anything. And I want to learn as much as I can. I don't listen to what other people say, whether something's fake or real. I determine on my own. And there's no doubt in my mind, I would bet my life on it, that these things are definitely real. They're amazing. And you mentioned synchronicity. And I'm wondering what is some of the synchronicities with these crop circles. I know that from what I understand, some of these are matching ancient symbols and things of that nature, and I find that amazing. It's almost like somebody wants us to know something.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that do the work of kind of interpreting each one and looking for the meaning in each one, and I'm looking at it more from a psychological point of view, so I'm really interested in the process of people's responses to the mystery and the challenge. And I think, there are, if you go online, there are a lot of people that will, that will look at an individual crop circle and interpret that meaning for you, and that's not what I do. So, those are available and out there. But I think in terms of the general phenomenon, there is this really interesting thing that happens that's very much like synchronicity, that there appears to be a relationship between the phenomenon and the researchers. And in that, people, when they're putting their life on the line and really investing their time and heart and energy in researching this phenomenon, they tend to have synchronicities where, a phenomenon is appearing in relationship to them. So, back in the 80s, one of the earliest researchers, Colin Andrews, he talks about two different synchronicities. One being, one year he could no longer afford to go all over England, driving around, spending all that money on gas and looking for crop circles, and he kind of cried out to the heavens, like, I just can't, I can't keep doing this way, and he got one that appeared shortly thereafter close to his home. And in another example, with Colin Andrews was flying with the pilot Busty Taylor. This is a very famous story, and they talked about, well, wouldn't it be great? They're talking about the evolution of design and the formations. And wouldn't it be great if the Celtic cross combined with a ring circle, and then they got that just about at the spot where they were flying over when they were talking about that. So, that's two there from Colin Andrews. Then later on, around 2001, there's a wonderful story that Nancy Talbot talks about, who's the T in BLT research, and someone I'm a fan of, and a fan of their work, and I encourage your listeners to support them and to check out bltresearch.com for great reports on the science of crop circles and other phenomenon. But she tells a story about being in Holland at a place where they've had many, many crop circles. In fact, the first European one of 2015 has appeared at the same farm, or nearby anyway. And she was there, and she was having one of those days where you just get frustrated and you think, why can't this phenomenon be more direct? Why does it have to be so elusive? And she was kind of expressing that to him, and went to bed, and then, later that night heard the cattle outside making some sounds, kind of ignored it. Then a few minutes later, she saw basically like a light, through the curtains of her window, looked outside and saw a beam of light coming down into the field of beans behind where, the house. And it was a ways away, but she saw it, and the person who lived there downstairs saw it, and then later they went out there, and there was a crop circle in that bean field. And the important thing for your listeners to take from that, goes along the same lines of Colin Andrews' story, and there's other researchers that have had this too, which is there seems to be, when people are emotionally involved in a genuine way with the phenomenon, some interaction with it from the other side, whether it's a crop circle or some kind of closing of the gap or getting closer between the person and the phenomenon. And the important thing to understand about that from a Jungian psychological point of view, and Carl Jung, after all, was the person who coined the term synchronicity. When you see a synchronicity, what that is it's a way that events in time and space have come together in a meaningful correlation with someone's inner state, and that's very often a feeling state. In fact, I would say there's no such thing as a synchronicity without feeling. And, we say, for example, we're dating someone and then we break up, and then for whatever reason we end up running to them all over town. Yeah. Or things along that line, right? So there's a way. I think one of the things we're figuring out in this moment is that the world that we live in is much more of a heart-shaped world than we could have ever realized, that there is a way that, grace or some sort of, beautiful energy connects this whole world in a much more meaningful way. And it doesn't have to be the super new agey way either, which I'm not a big fan of either, but there is this way that genuine emotion, or, the emotion inside of us, even if it's unconscious sometimes, that is at play with the world in this really interesting way. And it's at play between the researchers and the crop circles. And I don't want to, make the force that's making the crop circles too much of a god, because I think, certainly the agent making crop circles, whatever that agency is, whatever that person or being or whatever you want to call it is, they could be making them without knowing about the connection between the person, but at some level the universe has these heartstrings that are woven through it, and it's this beautiful mystery that I think in our time we're being led to consciously discover more about and experience, and it's really beautiful and challenging and interesting, and so different from our day-to-day values of our world, which is so materialistic and missing that heart piece so much. So I think I find it fascinating.
I was going to say, one of the things, and you mentioned it, that I found really interesting is the video and the description that people would give of seeing these balls of light in these fields, and how sometimes there'd be nothing after the ball left, but then maybe a day or a few days or a week or a month later, the crop circle would end up there. And so I think there's a connection there. It would seem so. Now, what could these ball of lights be? Some have speculated that it's coming from another dimension, or maybe it's our universe or our consciousness.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole chapter in my book that I look at that ball of light phenomenon, and the balls of light sometimes appear. They've been caught many, many times on video now, which is so interesting. That we're actually getting this on video. The balls of light tend to be about a foot around and white to orange in color, and they'll often appear before or after. Some people say during the creation of a crop circle. There's so many different ways that we can run and think about that, run with it and think about it. In the ancient medieval alchemists writing, they would sometimes talk about the ball of light like that as a soul, as in Celtic tradition and in fairy tradition, they sometimes talk about the death candle, or the soul being an orb of light around that size that leaves the body after death, and that has to be led in a specific way in order to move on, or something like that. But there's so much of that kind of interesting ways of looking at balls of light as, could they be spiritual? Could they be, alien or interdimensional or something? Sure. But I think once we start going into those questions, that's a really interesting place to go. I think when people start shutting down the process, I think then they're missing out on some stuff. But go in there for ourselves and experience that question. There's a really interesting bunch of connected pieces and stories here, because in the same part of the world that we have these crop circles going back for sure for hundreds of years, I suspect for thousands of years, but the same region of the world that we have these crop circles and these balls of light, we also have the fairy stories. And in the fairy stories, there is so much to do with light, and people go into the fairy world and they're gone for a short period of time, and then they come back, and it feels like a day to them is a year, or it's a week, or whatever it is. And there's this connection that we have between light and time, as Einstein said, E equals mc squared. There's an interplay between time and light that we're discovering in our time, what that means. And so there's just so much depth that we can go into with that question, and so many things to think about that, I think those are the questions that are deserving our time and our energy to ponder.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder, how is mainstream science, or are they at all, looking at this, and what are they saying about this? I mean, this is something that I think every resource on the planet should be putting time into, because
yeah, right, yeah. Well, I mean, I think governments are very interested in them, but they deny it completely, of course. Same as with the UFO stuff. They seem to be very, very interested, and I talk about that, give a few examples in the book about that, but it's clear that they're very interested, but they publicly, of course, deny that, and it's obvious, though, that they are really interested in it. And, mainstream science, really has ignored it as well. I mean, BLT is doing some very basic science that could be repeated by other people, and it's not hard to do, and it costs money and time, and there are other folks that could definitely do that as well, and that would be great.
These...
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that these could be... I mean, we should really pay attention, because these could be messages from the future, from the past. They could be messages from off-world. It could be messages from our own planet telling us something,
Yeah, and I think they certainly have something to do, in general, with some kind of, I believe, some kind of warning or drawing of our attention, to the earth and to what we're doing to the earth. And I think that's a feeling you get from most people that have been looking at crop circles for a long time, is that there's, maybe it's not just a warning, but it's certainly connected to bringing our consciousness to the earth as well.
Well, I'll tell you, while I was watching the video today, I would stop, on some of the pictures of these crop circles, and there was like this weird vibration that I felt, almost like, do you see it, dummy? You're supposed to see something there. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I experience, and I've experienced it with friends too, where, just looking at these things has a power. And there's so much sacred geometry in them, and John Martineau from England has done many, many great talks and books on the crop circle geometry and sacred geometry and crop circles, and he has some really nice points that he makes about this topic of the sacred geometry and crop circles. That we see all these same elements in sacred geometry in temples and churches. We see those same elements in crop circles, a balance of light and dark, and lines that are all on sacred geometric principles, and an incredible depth of sacred geometry, how each part is connected to another in this beautiful harmonic way, and that there's a healing to look at sacred geometry, and there's, I find, a healing or a vibration or an energy that when we spend time looking at these, that we are transported sometimes, and it's quite wonderful. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's you look at these, and they're some of it. I mean, my God, I mean, you could go on and on with it. I mean, but some of them, I seen one had to do with the bees, I think, and I'm thinking, well, look what we're having now. I just went over a story where we've got 41% of the bees have died off last summer. The beekeepers have claimed. So, I think there's a lot of warnings there. Then you see some that look like our solar system, or it's like, and a lot of them look like there's the sun in the center, and there's just it's like we're being told something. It's just I can't help but to think that, and I'm thinking, all right, so you've got the geometry, you've got the mathematics, and we've got some real intelligent people on this planet. So has anybody tried to put the mathematics together and figure out what the message might be?
Yeah, there are people that do that, and there are people that will look at, there's so much depth of geometry and symbol and form to look at in the different formations that you often will find people doing that and doing it quite well and doing it beautifully, and really taking the time to peel those pieces apart. And I think for me, what I try and do is that, I'm a Jungian, so I'm trying to look at it in the sense of if this was a dream and the world was the dreamer and this was the world's dream, how would I interpret it? How would I amplify it so that people can understand it? And I think a big part of what it's about is sitting with the mystery, and everybody sitting with their own process and having to not know the answers and wonder about these questions, like you are, you wondering to know, have we interpreted these and what does that mean? I think it's meant for everyone to sit with that question and really, sit with not knowing who's making it, sit with not knowing, what the meaning might be, because our world is so hyper certain. It always needs to know the answer, and we've lost our humility in front of the sort of awe of the world, and so that's the path I go down.
How does one keep track of where these crop circles happen? Because if one happened nearby me, I'd want to know about it so I can go check it out. How do you find out about these things?
Yeah, well, there's different folks, and I'm not sure who's up to what exactly in all these different regions today, but you can go online. Facebook's a good place, and there's a bunch of crop circle centers and different people that you can hook up with in different regions. Like I said, I don't know exactly who's up to what this year, so I don't know. I can't really recommend, but go on Facebook and you'll find a whole bunch of different people. And there's also a website that I think it's Bert Janssen that's doing this one, that they track all of them on like Google Maps markers of all the ones in Europe. So, but there is a guy who generally has the page for the U.S. crop circles, and there's someone who I know who used to do the Canadian crop circles. I don't know that he's doing that anymore, but there are these sort of groups you can get into where you will find out which one. And I'm always wanting to go to them as well. And some of my best experiences in crop circles have been in North America, have been in crop circles that are in our backyards that we can, go to ourselves. And, I was in the fantastic fantastic Milk Hill 2001 formation, which was fractal geometry and 1,000 feet across and 409 circles. And then, when I went in it, it was probably 10 days old, maybe 2 weeks, and there had been thousands of people through it, and it was wonderful. But I didn't have the same experience as I had going in a Canadian one a few weeks later that had only maybe 3 or 4 or 5 people had been through it, and it was only a few days old. And so, in that one I could really feel it. And so, never underestimate the crop circle that's, right under your nose.
Fascinating. Well, hey, we've got to take a quick break here. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back and talk some more. And if anybody wants to call in, if you got questions or comments, you're welcome to do that shortly at 803-317-2264. And Gary, I'm going to put you on hold here for just a moment while we take this break, and then I'll bring you back after. So, folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. My guest is Gary Samuel Bobroff, and his website is linked up on both my sites on latenightinthemidlands.com and the LNM and I recommend going over there. I checked it out. First, I started flipping through some pictures, a little picture slider on his site, and you can see some of those pictures. I've got them posted on our website here, the LNMradionetwork.com. If you go up to the picture tab, drop down, you'll see tonight's show pics. Click it. They're there. But if you go to his site, he's got a slider. There's videos where experts are talking about these things. You can watch them at work, doing some of the research on this. And I'll tell you what, it's incredibly fascinating. And when I look at these crop circles, when I get blow those pictures up and take a look, I tell you, I get drawn in. It's like there's something there, something that we're supposed to see. And I can't help but to thinking we're missing, it's going over our head, or we're dropping the ball on this. So people should pay more attention to these crop circles. So again, I'm Michael Vera, my guest. We'll be back in just a moment here. So you want to call in and talk with Gary Bobroff, you are welcome to do so. We'll be back.
You have found the best place on the internet by tuning into K98Talk.com, where it is our mission to broadcast the very best variety programming, giving you a balance of information from every angle and letting you decide. We are here to serve our listening audience with a proven track record. So stay with K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network, and we will keep you informed.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and Oxy Silver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use 528 Superfood as a great tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight, and Zeolove and natural clays for detoxifying your body. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948 and buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of and very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune into Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe-midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe-midlands.com.
In many cases is the idea that the aliens are essentially trying to create a hybrid mix of themselves and ourselves. They're interested in our DNA, our genetic makeup. And beyond that, they're interested in our personalities, our affection for our children, our love for one another, a whole kind of range of what we think of almost the most human characteristics we have emotionally.
We have to face up to reality that, for example, the UFO phenomenon is a real phenomenon, no question about it. So anybody who debunks the UFO phenomenon itself don't know what he or she's talking about.
Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
I know that I bashed Bush the entire time. I wasn't even allowed on Coast to Coast there for a while because I was told not to talk about Bush.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything. We are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network, and I welcome any of you who are tuning in maybe a little late here. I should tell you, we're speaking with Gary Bobroff. We're talking about crop circles. You know, in all the years that I've done this show, the crop circles have come up, but we've never, totally focused on them because, I've always been waiting for someone to come out with what exactly they mean. But I guess people have in their own sense. But if you ever get a chance, take a look at some of the pictures of these crop circles and just, go deep within inside of you and see what you feel with these things, because when I look at them, hell no, is nobody putting on wooden planks on their feet and walking out, and hell no. And if you tell me you do that, then you need to show me. Come on, let's go out to a cornfield. I want to see you do it, because you're a liar, because there's no way, absolutely no way you're able to do something like that. Not like these are. These are incredible. The call-in number, 803-317-2264. You can also call in using Skype. You can Skype to Skype us. It's Late Night in the Midlands. That's our Skype ID, and you're welcome to get us there. Again, the website, latenightinthemidlands.com or the LNMradionetwork.com. Shout out to our radio affiliates quick, too. The Dark Matter Radio Network, hello to all of you. And K98 Talk, hello to you. And High Point Radio, the top of New Jersey. They cover New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania on 100.5 FM and 1700 AM. And, of course, all of you listening on the LNM Radio Network. And wherever else you're listening, tune in, God only knows, iTunes and all these other places that we are. So we're back, Gary, and I guess if you could fill us in a little bit on some of the research that's been done, some of the symbolism. I mean, what some people may... some of the experts, I guess, who have been looking into this for a long time, what they may be starting to come up with as far as these go. I mean, I know nobody knows for sure, but they have to be, if they're doing the math, they have to be getting an idea of what kind of message maybe or what it all means.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that there's, for a long time, it's basically been the same kind of, there's no new, especially recent revelations that are changing the discussion. For a long time, the discussion around crop circles in terms of what's making them has three sort of categories of answers that people talk about. One category is that some kind of aliens or UFOs or interdimensional beings or something, in the alien category. Something in a spiritual category is another piece of the answer that a lot of people talk about. And then the third element is something to do with Earth, whether it's taking the Earth as part of the source of the creation of crop circles, or whether it's just the point of the formations is to connect us again to the Earth. Then that's another piece there. And I think, for me, my answer would be a play of all three of those. But I think, what's most interesting to me is, and what I write the most about, is how people go through that process themselves. It's so easy to, jump off prematurely in thinking about this phenomenon at a place that's really easy for us rather than going more deeply. And, I've definitely, in my own experience, gone around the wheel and had different emotions and different theories and different, ups and downs of pursuing the phenomenon. And I think that's what people should expect if they're going to really put themselves out there. And it's, unfortunately, our culture is a very easy answer oriented culture, and it wants people to know right away. And I think what they're inviting us to is something deeper. I really like, one of the things I talk about in my presentations on the topic is, it's this element of know them by their fruits. Like they say in the Bible, know it by its fruits. Yeah. So, crop circle phenomenon, if we know it by its fruits, well, it's beautiful. Does the beauty of these things speak to who's making it and what they're like? That's part of it. What does the sacred geometry element tell us about them? What does the fact that they are going and doing these seemingly for us to see them, what does that say about who they are? So, I think there's a whole process that we can go there. And, I think in addition to looking at them as, a warning sign or, a calling card from the other side, both of which I think is part of the answer, I think there's the mystery of it is also part of the answer, that in a culture that is so, we're so high on ourselves today that we've lost the idea that there might be something out in nature, other conscious beings or God or whatever, all that energy, we've kind of taken that into ourselves, and we're a very inflated culture. And I think for us to allow the existence of these other entities existing in the world, I think that's a huge thing for us. And part of what we need to do is sink into the mystery and allow ourselves to get the kind of psychological curative that you get from realizing, hey, there's other forces in this world. It's not just about me. It's not just about the human culture. There's other things going on. I think, man, we really need that because we're lost in this world of ourselves.
We definitely are lost in this world right now. It's on a downspin, and I'm not trying to fearmonger, or I'm not a downer. Some people say, "Oh, think positive." Well, that's great. It's good to think positive, but we need all of us to do it, I think, to make the difference. I don't think just a few of us with positive thoughts is going to do it. Which, you look at these crop circles, and I agree, the beauty of these things. If it's like I was watching on the one video, I loved the guy's comparison of how he looks at art, say a painting, and he could tell by the painting pretty much get an idea of the artist, of what they're about. And if that's the case with these crop circles, I wouldn't be afraid, not one bit, of whoever is behind these, because it is beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. But I would allow too that fear can be part of the process. It certainly was for me when I was out there, pursuing it in the beginning. And there is this, it's like the bigness of the mystery should be a little bit frightening to us. That there is the fact that there are these other powerful beings of some kind, powerful enough to do these formations. there is a certain amount of whoa, wow, it's like if you were, it's like the scene in Close Encounters. I often think of that scene in connection to crop circles, where they see the big ship for the first time and it plays that music and the glass breaks. There's a bit of that with crop circles too. It's like, whoa, there really is something going on that can evoke a bit of fear in us, and I think that's okay. And people's emotional process here needs to be given room to go up and down and round, because the world that the 6 o'clock news shows us is very insufficient and a much smaller version than the real world that has these mysteries like crop circles and synchronicities that's so much heavier and beautiful and fascinating and interesting, and the adjustment though between those two can be a lot for folks, and I think that it's important to allow for that, allow us to be in the state of not knowing, in the state of wonderment in front of the universe, and allow for that. I think is, it's a beautiful thing, and that's the journey that I invite people to come aboard for.
Right, and I would agree, and they never get. It seems like they never get caught. It's like, and go back to this board on the feet thing. It's going to take somebody a long time to do some of these that I've seen. I mean, some of these things are huge, and yeah, you're not going to. I mean, you'd need a team of people out there, and they'd get busted. I mean, it's an open area, so it's just whoever's doing it. I mean, they're not getting caught. And whether it's off world or another dimension or whatever it is, it's but people are seeing signs like these. I guess I call them orbs, but they're balls of lights, and it's just, for me, it's fascinating. I don't know what else to say except for it's got to be that they don't want to just come down and say, hey, we're here. Because they don't want to disturb, let's face it, if we knew right now that there was something other than human beings or some other dimension or some other race, I mean, people think about it, but if they actually seen it, some people, I mean, their religious beliefs and these other things that they have been conditioned with through time, I mean, some of them wouldn't be able to handle it, unfortunately. And, but I say, too bad for them. I'm not going to suffer because they've been brainwashed. I want to see, whatever it is, I'm open to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think, it makes a difference where we're coming from. And for some folks, it is going to be, a different journey with different challenges in different ways. But the main thing for me is, are you willing to go for yourself? Are you willing to go and look and consider and watch the videos and look at the formations and take that journey yourself? And I think, I think that's what our time is about. I think that, the era of having leaders who are going to tell us what we should think about things has passed, and that we're in this new time where every single person's journey and effort matters. And I think there isn't Walter Cronkite on the TV who's going to tell us what we should think about the news. We've got the internet with all these different points of view, and everybody gets their comments and whatever. And I think the impetus really is, the whole zeitgeist of our time, I think, is more into each one of us and how we're going to do the spiritual journey of our life. And how we're going to approach these questions, and are we going to go on the journey, or are we just going to go with the easy answer of most commonly denial? That's the number one response of our most people to this phenomenon, is they just say, oh well, it must be people, and there's no other way it could be. And that's just the biggest cop-out ever. It's just it's the easy answer. It's the easy thing to do. It makes people feel smart. But, what they don't do is they don't look at the evidence. And that's the thing that can really take us somewhere. And, I certainly have, the Jungian point of view, which gives me a lot of depth, that when I go and think about this phenomenon, I can go real deep and get something rich out of it and make a story that fits for me, that's satisfying for me out of all these things. But I think people also, they can take that from me if they want, but my work, really what I try to do is to give people a framework to go deeper for themselves, a framework to go deeper and consider things more deeply for themselves.
And that's that's the point I'm at in my life, and I've always been open to everything. I mean, throughout my whole life, but that's where my determination, through all the things I've seen and heard, and people I've talked to, great people I've talked to, I've put it together that that's what we're here for right now. We're here for our own journey. We're here, there's this collective consciousness, but you're on this physical plane. You're here for this lesson, this journey, this quest for knowledge, and that's why we're here. And you can't take. I was just saying this last night. Stop letting other people tell you what to think or what to believe. Find out for yourself. Believe what's true and look into it yourself. That's the best way to do it, and that's what we're here for. And unfortunately, so many people perish without not doing that. I mean, they've always let other people and if you let people think for you and you let people run over you, they'll do that. And so, I think we are in a time when people are no longer taking what the mainstream media is telling them. They're no longer taking what the White House has announced, and they're looking into their own things. They're saying, just because you said there's no life here, there might be, because we know that they don't tell us everything.
Yeah, and to me, what that's about is that today, our relationship to God or the mysterious or whatever you want to call it, the universe, the world around us, I think we're being called today to have a more adult-to-adult relationship to that mystery. One of the first things that got me thinking about crop circles, that essay that I wrote many, many years ago now, was about a book that Jung wrote called Answer to Job. And, Job from the Bible, who God and the devil make a bet. And they basically say, well, the devil says, well, I think I can make him not, be faithful to you anymore, God, and, can I have a go? And they make a bet, and off goes the devil trying to ruin Job's life and turn him against God. And he, puts Job through all these trials and tribulations and fails. And at the end of it, Job says to God, what was up with that? And God basically turns into Behemoth and then a Leviathan and basically shows his might. And so what you see in that story and what Jung talked about in Answer to Job is that, our stories from the Bible give us this picture of a process between humanity and the world, whether you want to call it God or the universe or whatever, but it's a dialectic process. It's a back and forth. And in those Bible stories with Job and Abraham and all that, it's usually the human figure that's more moral. And Yahweh is more just sort of angry and, easily upset. And so that, we get this sense of that the purpose of humanity is to actually get conscious, to struggle with the shadow and light, with good and evil, with the unknown and the known, and with struggle with ourselves and the difference between our pictures of the world and what the world is really like. And so that work is on us, and that every time we do something more consciously, it kind of counts. It's on a universal scale. It makes a difference. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for understanding reality, and it feels true to me. And I think, in this time that we're alive in which, for 50 or more years, 60 years, we've had, the possibility of nuclear annihilation. Humanity does own the power to destroy all the life on this planet.
Yeah, sadly, that's true.
Yeah, we've got the power that we would say were the gods' power. And Then you see, there was a story recently about, a politician saying, people can't change the climate, only God can change the climate. Well, I think that's staying in that child-adult relationship. And I think there's something about our time that says we have to say that, we have to be the adult in this relationship, with the universe. We have to really, take every kind of synchronicity and every kind of meaningful event that comes to us and really try and honor it and bring it in and sit with it and, find out, chew on it, and find out what it's trying to tell us and where it's trying to point us. And I think, that's not a bad thing. It's asking something of us, but certainly crop circles for me is just such an ultimate example of that. I don't think anyone's answer is going to be satisfying completely for someone else. That if you want satisfaction here, it's going to come down to you. But I think that's part of the condition of our time.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were right. You said people want the quick answer, so it's either people or it's extraterrestrials, and it could be neither of those. So, well, I know it's not people. I know it's not human beings doing that. And if they are behind those balls of light, well, they've got some serious technology we didn't know about. Because didn't somebody at one time, didn't they have a security camera or something out there because of wolves or something like that, I understand, and they actually got on video one of these balls of light moving around and actually making the crop circle?
Well, I don't know what to think about that video. I think I do know the one you're talking about. But there certainly have been people that have caught the orbs on video, and whether or not there have been it's been caught on video actually making a formation, to my eyes, I haven't seen that yet. But to talk about to go back to what you were saying there earlier, most people do want those easy answers, and they put the phenomenon in a box that's really easy for them to handle, and it's so much easier. I mean, even if you say, "Oh, it's aliens," which people would say, "Well, that's better than denial." If you stop the process there, I mean, what do you mean when you say that? I mean, what does that mean? Are they little green guys? Are they interdimensional? I mean, I think you can just go on and go more deeply in here, and that's, really that's the way that you get around it rather than just stopping it. And, another thing too with the eyewitnesses in terms of what people have seen, it's really interesting to me that, and I talk about this in the book, that there's a variety of different things that eyewitnesses have seen. Some people have seen light come down as like a beam from the sky, and then you get, the formation afterwards. People have seen balls of light. People have seen a wind in the daytime come, or a mist descend in the daytime. And this to me is interesting. That it's, and you don't have to say, "Oh, well, we can't judge anything from that because all these people are saying different things." No, that is interesting. And, even some people have pointed this out to me before, that it's like the, I think it was, the whether it's the burning bush or something that led the people out of slavery, and the Jews out of slavery in Israel in the biblical stories, that it would take different forms. It wasn't always a pillar of fire. Sometimes it was, a mist or these different things. And again, so we have these variety of forms of what people are seeing. To me, that just makes it more interesting. It's saying, wow, what is this that can? Sometimes it's a light, sometimes it's a ball of light, sometimes it's a wind, sometimes it's a mist. How interesting is that? And these are not something that it's once. These are things that many people have seen it as a beam of light. Many people have seen the mist descend and then the crop circle. Many people have seen the winds and then the crop circle. So, interesting stuff,
Yeah, and see, I think all those things exist. I think that extraterrestrials exist. I think that, other dimensions exist with real worlds and people and all. I believe that all that exists, and at least I believe it's all very much a possibility, and people would have to more prove to me that it's not, more than prove to me that it is. But now, as far as who's behind the crop circles, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even begin to fathom. I mean, I could speculate like anybody else, but it's what throws me off is when I like symbols that resemble ancient symbols. Well, that kind of throws me off, and I'm thinking, could it be a time traveler? Could that be what's involved? I mean, so there's so many. It just takes you so many different ways, and you sometimes got to wonder: is it all the above?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, really, I think the interesting thing is for people to go into their own questions and what do they believe.
Right. Now, how far back is this recorded? I mean, the first crop circles, if you will.
Well, the first thing that we know for sure is about two pieces of evidence that that are very, very authentic, and we know they're real and they're around the same time. One is the very infamous mowing devil woodcut, which is the story of a farmer who, bargaining with a mower about the price of oats, swore that, the devil should mow it rather than you. And then that night he sees a light in the field, and the next morning there's a circle in the formation, and it's very neatly done, and it's so flat that he can't get them up with his pitchfork anymore, and he's actually afraid to go back in his field. And that's from 1678. And any of your listeners that are really into crop circles will know Andy Thomas. And Andy Thomas is a writer on conspiracy and crop circle, and the host of a wonderful lecture series called the Glastonbury Symposium every summer in Glastonbury, England. And he went to the British, the National Gallery, and looked up the original document and saw the original and held it in his hands. And he's got a nice essay on that experience that people can Google and read. That's Andy Thomas. And he's seen the original of this document. We know that there is an original that goes back to that time, 1678. And I suspect that this document actually is the sort of final version of something that probably, a story that went on much earlier, because psychologically, when you talk about seeing a devil making crop circles, it really speaks to a medieval response to it, that to think, the devil would be doing it would express that conflict that our medieval ancestors had, between their sort of pagan self and their Christian self. And right around the same time as the 1678 mowing devil woodcut, we also have Robert Plot, who is a professor at Oxford, who represents kind of an Enlightenment psychological response to crop circles, where he thinks, it's got to be some kind of weather phenomenon, and some kind of atmospheric trumpet or something like that is coming down and blowing these shapes into the field. And so we have all his diagrams from that, and we know we know who he was, and we know that he was an Oxford professor, and we actually have this stuff from 1686. And then in 1800, in the English journal Nature, there's a gentleman who sent in a letter, and he describes exactly the phenomenon that we see today of crop circles. So, we know they've been going on for a long, long time, and you can see from these responses that people have been really struck by them, that they've been really moved by them, and that it's the same phenomenon that we see today, where we're blown away by it. We can tell from the qualities that they describe that, and the way they describe it. The gentleman who wrote the Nature article, he really wants to know, has anyone else seen this? He's really quite moved by it. And so, we know that it's been going on that long. I think it's been going on much longer. I think that the reason that you have these stone circles all across England is because people put stones to commemorate crop circles and to hold the energy from crop circles there, and that's what I believe, or that a certain portion of them were originally crop circles. We're talking about thousands of years into the past, and so I think for a very long time that's been going on, in England especially, but across Europe, and that's one more reason why we know that it's not just a modern phenomenon done by humans. It's not. There's too much evidence that points to the fact that it isn't, that it's always been there, and that there's always been this mysterious quality to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too, especially the whole putting the rocks there to outline it and in remembrance of it. And so, but it's probably like going to somebody's house. You get along with them great. You grew up with them for a while. You leave, you come back, and someone new lives at the house, and they're just not answering the phone no more. I mean, that could be what they think of us. It's like, well, they used to heed our messages and understand them, and now they don't.
Yeah. Well, I think too. We used to honor the earth, and that's a big part of what I write about in the book. The book is a lot about the archetypal feminine and the miracle of life. And these things aren't in sand or metal. They're in living plants. They're in the living plants that fed us for generations, and that we used to do ceremonies to honor the gods of the plants, to honor the spirit of the wheat. That we used to take the final sheaves all across Europe. You hear different versions of this custom. And some people, even in North America, will know their grandparents would have little corn dollies or corn crosses that were woven often from the final sheaves of the harvest. Incredible. And that people would venerate the wheat and give thanks for this wheat in that way. And, we're so disconnected from that now. Ask kids where their food comes from, right? What do they say?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I know. It's we had a kid, I won't mention his name, but we had a kid recently. We were at a little gathering with family, and he says, you want some pork chops? He says, I think, if I remember correctly, he said something about they're grown or this, and I wanted to tell him the truth, and of course the other adults told me don't say nothing or he won't eat it. But I don't know. He was like, "Mommy could grow you more," or something along them lines, and
right.
It doesn't work that way, kid.
That's right. Yeah, we're totally disconnected from the earth, and I think, and from where our food comes from, and the miracle of life, and.
Yeah, one of those crop circles actually looked like a fork in one of them, almost like it had something to do with our food,
Right, yeah, the little keys. Sometimes you'll see the keys off the edge of them, too, that's almost like a fork as well, yeah.
Exactly. Now, they have found, I guess, different energies within these crop circles, correct? Like electrical, magnetic fields, that type of things they think might have contributed to these, or they're finding traces of that within them. Is that right?
Yeah, they absolutely have found higher than normal levels of electromagnetic radiation in the phenomenon, and that goes on from today into the past. In the book I include a reference from let's see here, probably 40 years ago in the Canadian prairie, where folks found some crop circles out there, and they had a Geiger counter, and it was 4 times higher electromagnetic radiation levels inside the formations than outside. And they went back 2 weeks later with a provincial geologist, and they found still higher than normal readings inside the circle. So, we know that's a part of it. And you can feel that. I mean, I've definitely felt that in formations before. You feel like, wow, there's a palpable energy present here.
Yeah, so that would, what does that tell us? Is that if there's like it seems like some kind of magnetic fielded type energy, then I mean, what are these probes or what could be doing these?
Yeah, it's a mystery.
It is. It's a big mystery. I guess at this point, has there been any new ones? Are they still popping up, or are they far in between now?
No, they're still popping up. I mean, people say that they feel like the numbers in the last 4 or 5 years are going down, and that the phenomenon is kind of ending, and that it's certainly feels like it's been shifting somewhat from being as centrally located in England to moving more to the European plane, and that you find beautiful ones in Germany and Italy and Holland and France in a way that you didn't as much in the past. So there seems to be a shift from England to the European continent, and the numbers do seem to be dwindling. And what that means, it's hard to say. But I was in a beautiful one 2 years ago in England that was complex and wonderful, and we've already had a new one in Holland in 2015 here within the last 10 days, and the phenomenon goes on. It continues, but I think it's important that people think about the fact that I do think that there is a relationship, as you started saying, that we used to commemorate these things and now we don't anymore. That I feel like the more attention we give this phenomenon, the more it occurs. And at the height at which the phenomenon of crop circles was popping so much and so spectacularly, that was also a time when the world was really paying attention to it. Even if it wasn't the mainstream news, it was still folks were there paying attention to it. The average people were interested, and crop circle calendars were selling, and there was an interest. And I think there's a relationship between it's like the movie Field of Dreams or something. If you build it, they will come. Like, if we pay attention to it, that it will happen more, and if we cease to pay attention to it, it will happen less.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's like that friend or so-called friend who, you're constantly calling him and making offers to go here or there, and he turns you down enough times and blows you off enough times where you finally say, well, then the hell with him, basically. And, I hope that it don't get to that point with us, because I think that the entire world needs to grasp this and focus on this and figure out what's going on and see if we could figure out what these messages are, because I think they're very important. And they're obviously coming from, it would seem to me it's coming from a peaceful place, because they're peaceful type, beautiful type messages. But now, are other countries taking them more serious than others? I mean, what countries are doing the most work in this aspect? Do you know?
Well, I the governments that are involved certainly are none of the governments that I know of are taking any responsibility for their interest or owning up to it. So we don't really know, but there certainly are. There's a great number of people, certainly in England, that are still alive and following this with fierce enthusiasm, and that's wonderful. But there's also people across Europe that are leading tours and all kinds of folks out there from Holland and different countries that are out pursuing this mystery. And so it's alive and well in the individuals. I don't know if it's alive and well in any governments that they're willing to own up to, but they certainly are interested behind the scenes. But the movement is carried forward by individuals, and certainly there are some in the States, but across Europe, man, there's some great people that are really committed to it.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good, because, I'm sure here in the United States, I'm sure the government takes great interest in it. But I have a feeling that, they're not going to tell us anything that they do find. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you the floor to get out anything else that you'd like tonight, and certainly any appearances you've got coming up, anything you want, take as much time with it as you'd like, and so we could get the information out. And I thank you.
Well, thank you. This is fun, and it's so nice to speak with you, Michael, because you're open to being present with the questions of our time, and that's really more than most media outlets are doing. So I applaud you.
Well, I think your website is great, and I think that what you're doing is fantastic. I mean, because the information on your website has just piqued my interest even that much more. So you're doing good.
Thank you. So the website you're referring to is Young and Crop Circles. So JUNGAND cropcircles.net, youngandcropcircles.net. And on there you can find information about my book, which I'm very proud of, that came out on North Atlantic Books last August, and some nice things that folks have had to say about it there, and you can buy it through their website or on Amazon. And the book is called Crop Circles, Jung and the Reemergence of the Archetypal Feminine. And that's what really we're going to get into, the archetypal feminine, in the webinar that I'll be doing that starts in June. And to register for the webinar, you can either go to the Young and Crop Circles website, or you can go to my other website, which is archetypalnature.com, archetypalnature.com. And you'll find there the where to purchase the webinar. But in the webinar, we're going to do 4 weeks, and we're going to look really at the psychological environment into which crop circles land. So in session 1, we look at science and history. In session 2, we look at we start to get into the psychology, and we look at the shadow. What's the shadow of our responses here? What happens when we fail to hold the tension of the mystery here? And then, Jung talked about what he called the self archetype and mandalas, and that there's this part of who we are that is constantly seeking balance and harmony and growth into more wholeness, more complete expression of who we are and our possibilities, that are some of which are latent and that we need to grow into over time. And so the symbol for the archetypal self was the mandala, and crop circles are very mandala-like. They're very, circle-oriented. The circle is the kind of first mandala. And so, into this time of tremendous imbalance, here comes this symbol which depicts balance. And then I think part of the imbalance is that we're in favor of masculine approaches over feminine ones. And that's what Jung said. And so in session 3, and really what the book is predominantly about, is the archetypal feminine, the goddess, and grain, and the miracle of life that we've lost. And that's really what I'm writing about predominantly in this book, because I think that's a piece that is missing from the discussion. That why is this phenomenon in grain and wheat and the miracle of life? And here we are at this time where we've lost that so much. And then, the final session, we're going to talk about what it means that we're in this relationship with crop circles, in a field relationship where our investigation matters. Our emotional and feeling responses matter. So, what does it mean that, we're discovering that we're in a heart-shaped world, and it's a beautiful and really interesting thing to be discovering. So, and we're on Facebook too. You can find the event there if you want to join that. It's facebook.com/Young and Crop Circles, JUNGAND Crop Circles. And that's what I'm doing. I'm also going to be talking in 2 locations in California. I guess I could mention that. I'm going to do the full presentation on the book in Ojai, California, on the 16th of June, which is a Tuesday. And I'm speaking at a conference which, maybe a lot of your listeners would be interested in, which is called Seizing an Alternative Toward an Ecological Future, with very famous environmentalists. Vandana Shiva and Bill McKibben are the headlining speakers there, and there's a bunch of us that are going to be talking about the world soul, and I'm going to be talking about crop circles and the earth and how all this fits together there. And that's the first weekend in June in Claremont, California. And I think that's all I'm doing on that stuff. I got other stuff going on, but that's my crop circle tour.
Well, great. And, hopefully maybe sometime you'll be in the Columbia, South Carolina area or nearby, and I get a chance to come and sit at one of your presentations, because I'll tell you, anybody who doesn't find an interest in this, then I don't know, they're watching Cartoon Channel all day. Because, you've got to have an interest in this stuff. First you got to show yourself that this is real, because it is. And then from there, you just got to keep that interest going. I know I am. I want to look into this more. I want to have you back again in the near future and talk some more about this. And who knows, maybe there'll be even more new findings and so on and so forth. And I'm going to keep you linked up over on our website at latenightinthemidlands.com. And this will most likely air on Sunday again on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and it'll run again a couple times on this station as well. So people could go check this stuff out and check out your website and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Michael, and I do hope to get out to South Carolina and in your neighborhood at least, and hopefully that'll happen. If not this year, then sometime soon.
All right. Well, Gary, thank you again very much. I appreciate you taking this time out with us tonight, and I do look forward to following your work and keeping in touch.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay, you too.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye. All right, everybody. That's Gary Bobroff, and I'll tell you, his website, I'm not just blowing smoke. His website, he's got some good stuff on there. You've got to look. It's like I was looking for the photos, and what I noticed was that on the right side of the website, I think under the media, I got the link up. It's up on the LNMradionetwork.com. If you go to the pictures section, the drop down there, tonight's pictures, up in the tabs. You could go and click on the link. It'll take you right there. But there's a 2-hour video there that I recommend everybody watch. It really, I tried to put it up on latenightinthemidlands.com today, but for some reason it just took fuzz. It wouldn't play it. So it must be you have to go over there to watch it, which is fine. So I got the link up. So go check it out. It's 2 hours long, and it's just, they show so many different crop circles. You hear the experts talking about them, real experts, science people. Really digging in, doing chemical analysis and different gases and energies like the magnetic fields and stuff that are within these crop circles. There's stories of one guy who threw a knife up over the crop circle there, and it levitated. There was so much energy coming out of it. So, I think there's a lot that could be said about these crop circles. We're going to continue this conversation here in the next hour. I've got Ira who's going to be joining me tonight in the last hour. And, the guests, sometimes we keep them longer. If we get the call-ins, then we might go longer with the guests. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do other things. So, yeah, he's a fantastic guest. And by the way, folks, no, he wasn't puffing on anything. It's a medical issue. I know what some of you are thinking, and it certainly wasn't me. So, all right. So with that, folks, we're going to take this break, and then we'll come back and talk some more. And you're still welcome to call in, whatever's on your mind. We're kind of rocking around the crop circle here, but of course that leads to many other things, because as I always say, it's all connected. All of it. We'll be right back.
LNM Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the home page or the chat and listen page and have peace of mind that no matter what happens, your family is protected.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. You want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. LNM is always looking for sponsors, so if you are interested in sponsorship or advertisement on air or on our website, contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com. If you're interested in rebroadcasting or picking up the live feed for Late Night in the Midlands, then contact us at mv@latenightinthe.midlands.com and help us help you. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. We know you want the truth. That's why we created Late Night in the Midlands. From the Philadelphia Experiment to the Philadelphia Caller.
Well, first off, I want to say I'm enjoying your show. I wish there was something like this up in Philadelphia.
And from West Columbia to you.
Take no smoking nothing. I'm just out of work, blue collar man. But you know, like I told her once again, sometimes coast to coast, the subject matter gets boring. I've been listening to Late Night in the Midlands since I've been on. I think it's pretty cool. And again, like I said, this is what we need around here.
And every now and then you hear it first, right here on Late Night in the Midlands.
With the old painless from Preston.
Well, the first thing is to be fair. Don't you think Mr. Paul and I ought to flip the coin?
Absolutely.
Why do I have to be VP?
Well, I was thinking,
I'm fair. Let's destiny take it. Flip the coin in the air. If it's heads, I win. Tails, he wins.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
No, it wouldn't matter either one of us. It would be, and I'll tell you this: if Ron were to run again, and if he came to me and asked me to run with him, I will state this: I would give it very sincere and deep consideration.
You just never know who's going to call in on Late Night in the Midlands.
We have George Story from Coast to Coast AM. Good evening, George. Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
So, folks, when I say Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, we really do cover everything.
Middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, but very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Have you ever seen those like in the African jungles, and they got the little bongs out, the little, not the bongs, but those, I don't know what do you call them there, those skin drums, those bongos or whatever, and they dance to this stuff. I mean, a lot of this, I love music that, like, a lot of the Asian music is really cool. For bumper music and for relaxation too. It just, I don't know. Like, I'm really picky with my bumper music. Something's got to like hit my soul for me to want it, and that's one of those. I could just, you're having a bad day, well, sit back, have a jooby dooby, and play some of that, and you'll be all good. All right, enough of that, folks. By the way, it's legal in a good part of the country now, so some of you need to get with the times and stop letting the mainstream media tell you what's good and bad for you. These are, the same people who complain about marijuana will suck down 2 packs of cigarettes a day, or if not 3 or 4. But they'll tell you, don't touch that marijuana, it's bad for you. Meanwhile, they've got filters on their shot, and it's still giving them lung cancer. But the call-in number, 803-317-2264. That's the number to call in. I'm going to bring Ira on with me now, Ira Robinson. He has become a big part of the LNM radio network. If he was around 8 years ago, God only knows where we could have been by now. I've always been looking for somebody who will get in, knee deep and just go to town and make it their own baby. And, Ira, you do that. You get involved. You're not afraid of the challenges and the work that goes behind it. And you've been a humongous help, and I thank you for it. But welcome.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure to do so. How's my sound for you?
You sound just fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're sounding good there, and I'll tell you, the website looks fantastic. I know there's a few little touch-ups here or there or whatever that will always be in place, but man, does it look good.
Yeah, we have some aesthetic things to do here and there, but yeah, we've put a lot of work into it, and I'm glad that it's being accepted. It's we've gotten a lot of really good feedback on it so far, and I'm glad for it.
Well, yeah, it's fantastic. I've got less complaints. Oh my goodness, the other one it's just people are having problems with everything. Poor Bruce and Adana, their chat rooms were tiny, as big as a matchbox. But when they came here to visit us in South Carolina, we did, Autumn helped Donna with her, widening that, and so they figured out what that was, and I was like, oh, thankful we were able to fix some problems, but yeah, it's great to be moving over to it's just what you guys have done, what we've all done here with everything. I mean, we're talking about the network becoming a real network, a radio station now. I mean, there's several shows, not just a few. With the website, I mean, it just shows it's like the new horizon. It's everything's coming to I don't know, everything's coming to core. It's the way it should be, and it's about time. So that's what it takes, teamwork.
Yep, I know it's been a dream of yours for a long time to have it be what it is now and what it's becoming now, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. I'm grateful to be a part of it.
It is too. It was always a dream. I won't lie. When I first started doing my show, I mean, it was just basically a hobby at that point. I just wanted to bitch and I wanted someone to hear me. I mean, that's basically what that was when I first started. But then I realized the importance of it. And, I put in the research and I started doing these things and I started having guests on and they started telling me things and it made me look and it all just, before you know it, this is my baby now. This is it. This is, I'm going to die doing this. This is because this is what I love. I mean, I could never do anything else. This is what I have to do. So, until the troops come marching down my street, Matter of fact, we'll probably be live as they kick in the door. So, but yeah, it's wonderful. I think we've got a great crew here of shows for the most part. Of course, we're looking into some, maybe some changes here or there, with the schedule. But other than that, I think we're doing really well. And I'm glad to be a part of it. But crop circles, Ira. Holy cow, crop circles. Have you looked at the pictures on the website?
I have, yeah. He's got a lot of really good images available to look at there on his website.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating when you look at these. When you do look at these crop circles, okay, and the ones that I have posted on the website there on tonight's show pictures, those are all real. None of those are maybe they're real, maybe they're not. No, those are all real. All right, you gonna tell me somebody's doing that with a couple boards on their feet?
I know there's a couple of instances out there, like you can find them on the net of people that have done that kind of thing. And it's obvious. The differences between that and a real crop circle are dead obvious to look at.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because I was ready to argue with you and say, oh, no, they can't do this. Because if you look close and you look at the layouts and the weavings of the plants. Yeah, but go on. I'm sorry. Exactly. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You've got it exactly. You look at the way that the plants have been moved. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that there's some guy that's gone out there, or even a group of people that's gone out there, and they are weaving these plants together in really cool, shapes and everything, one little weed at a time, basically. They're supposed to do this in one night. It's impossible. I'm sorry, but it just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, and we're talking about farmers who say, well, I was out there at 10:30 this morning, there was nothing, I came in for lunch, I went back out there 2 hours later, and there it was.
Exactly.
You're not doing that in 2 hours, and you're not doing that with boards on your feet. You better be hovering above, and you better have some serious freaking technology if you're doing that, because and for people who say, oh, it's a weather phenomena, dare I say horse crap. I mean, no, it's not. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at it now. I'm on that page, and I'm looking at the second picture. It's the green. You can see it's all green, and then it looks like the Hanukkah. The Hanukkah candles. And
the menorah, yeah.
My God, that's what it looks like. And I'm thinking, what could that possibly mean?
It's beautiful.
And you're not going to tell me weather did that. No way. That's a design. That's intelligent design right there. So
yeah, absolutely. It really reminds me a lot of when I look at a lot of these crop circles, I think to myself, okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Nazca lines, just as I know that those were created by us, but it's like, were the Nazca lines, for instance, created as a response to some of these different crop formations that were done? Because they're in South America, they're in South Africa, they're in, Australia, they're everywhere. They've even seen them in sand. It's really weird.
Well, I look at these things, and now, somebody might look at them and think like there's one there, and I could see somebody saying, oh, that's just a picture of Mickey Mouse or something, but it's not. And I look at these things, and somebody, somewhere is trying to tell us something. And, I mean, but God, I can't even begin to fathom. I mean, first off, I have trouble just getting over the beauty of these things to even try to determine what they can mean. And then you've got to be careful that your preconceived ideas and thoughts and beliefs don't get in the way too. And that's a problem. Like, I mean, if you're like, say, a Planet X fanatic, you could easily prove how these crop circles are warning you of a solar system coming. Really? I mean,
yeah.
And if you're, I don't know, a nature fanatic where you say, well, everything's dying, we're all doing, you could prove that too. I mean, with these, so I think there's several messages here, and what they're telling us, I don't know. By the way, I got email from John DiNardo. He emails me frequently, by the way, and he says that he had talked to a Professor Canny or something his name is, and that the reason the asteroid came close is because there's a solar system coming within our solar system, and so on and so forth. Now, I don't even put a grain of salt in it, to be honest with you, because not John DiNardo, but the source that he's referring to. I don't know. The guy's sometimes in fantasy land. He's been telling us that there's a solar system's going to hit us. I've been hearing it for, the last 8 years. So, but I don't know. Maybe that's what these crop circles are telling us. It could be a planet lineup. I don't know.
Could be. You never know. That's the one thing that I find really interesting about them overall when it all comes down to it, is that I've always looked at the universe as being like really fractal, that when things happen, it's a multitude of reasons why they happen. And I look at these crop circles as being kind of the same way. There's like a fractal nature to it. You look at it and you can get the top message or one message, but then the further that you go, there's more and more depth to it. And I think that's really fascinating to me. I mean, you could look at it and say, wow, that's really beautiful. But then you get down into the mathematics of it and you think, okay, well, these things are super precise. So what does that mean? Okay, well, then we can get down into, well, is this a language? Mathematics can be considered a language.
Yes.
On and on and on. There's so many different aspects to it that people just don't really delve into when it comes to these crop circles.
Exactly. And here's the thing. And people say, well, if they really wanted to get us a message, why don't they just take over the TV waves, the airwaves, and just put something on TV? You know why? Because right away, if they did do that, everybody would say the government did it. It was the government did it. They're pulling the alien false flag on us. So you can't win either way. I mean, how are these beings ever going to tell us whether... Personally, I think these crop circles have something to do with time travel. I really do. Because it seems that it would be a warning towards something. So that means somebody knows something is ahead. So it's either time travel for me or it's otherworldly. And I don't know. And it could be a mixture of both for all I know. But I don't know. It's amazing stuff, and I think it's got to do with time travel. And
you could be right on that. I definitely don't discount that possibility.
I'm not stuck on it.
I think that for me, what I see is I go back into the history of them, and I know that they have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. There are even records of these type of things occurring, way back thousands of years ago. And so if you look, for instance, at the idea of now it slipped my mind. In Ireland,
I don't feel bad. I've been losing my train of thought here too. It must be the crop circles.
It must be. In Ireland, they have the idea of the fey stones. The circles over there that are usually made out of stones or out of crops and that sort of thing. And what they attributed it to was the fey creatures. The elves and all of that kind of stuff. So when you get into the history of it, you see how this has been a part of our history for a really long time. And it's like, okay, is there a time travel aspect to it? That could be. Maybe it's somebody sending messages back further and further into the past to do warnings of things. I think it's possible that these are perhaps, I don't know, one thing I ran across a long time ago with them is the idea that maybe they're there as a way of sacred symbols to maybe hold things together, to try to create a balance in the world. So in the areas where things are most imbalanced, these crop circles will appear as a way to balance things back out a little bit in nature.
Well, it's not working. That's the problem. And I go along with it. These things are ancient, some of them. I mean, they go back, crop circles go back a long way, and maybe these messages, maybe certain people, and you'd know who you are supposed to understand these. Maybe you've had a past. Maybe you sent this message ahead. from the past. I mean, it could be anything like that. And certain people, I think, would understand these. Now, have those certain people been corrupted? Are they in the wrong business? I mean, what's happened? I don't know. But all I could see here is, I don't know if it's exactly time travelers. But, that's like if you look at the extraterrestrial, the whole phenomena there. And how with these crafts that they fly, I mean, they could obviously, travel, time travel in them. I mean, if they could go as fast as I've seen them go, and I mean, that's fast. I mean, you want to talk about the speed of light. It's like blink your eye, it's gone. So they're either moving really fast and they're able to time travel because of that, or they're just really good at cloaking themselves and making themselves, that could be with the chemtrails. I don't want to get off topic here, but all this stuff that's sprayed in the air, these UFOs could be using that too. You see them, but then you got to go back, 1940s. Were there chemtrails in the air? No, and they still did the same things, right? So I don't know.
It's possible though with that they're putting the chemtrails up to make it so that they're harder to see.
Well, I mean that they would use the reflective material to cloak themselves and make it look like reflect themselves to appear somewhere else. I was shining. I had this laser light I play with the cat with sometimes, and and I was aiming it at it hit one of the objects in the living room, and when hitting it, it like split it off into three ways. So I seen it. So I was like, I could just turn it just a little bit, and it would be like, it's here, now it's across the room. It's here, now it's here. And it gave me the idea, and I said, they could be using, not, of course, solid objects, but they could be using, reflective material within the atmosphere to make it look like they're moving that fast. I mean, that could be. Maybe there are real alien craft that's moving fast, but maybe the dumb humans are trying to duplicate it or fool the people, and that's what they're doing to make it look that way. I don't know.
That very well could be. Yeah, I would not be shocked on that at all. That's a good idea, though. I like that.
Yeah, I dropped the top to my coffee cup, and of course it can't be easy. It's got to go all the way under the desk to the back of the wall. Couldn't just fall and be right here where I could grab it. So I had to drag it, and well, now it's useless. but yeah, I don't know, man. I was looking at these things today, and I'm feeling it. I'm looking at it, and I'm feeling it. I'm like, this is way, way important. Why isn't this being a focus? Why are we spending billions and trillions of dollars for war? Well, I know why. I'm not asking the questions because I need an answer. But, why are they doing that when we could be putting so much money into, we should have, to hell of putting cameras on the people. Let's get some cameras in these fields and let's record this stuff and see what's going on, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, the people have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and money trying to debunk the phenomenon. That is, when you hear crop circles, everybody sort of knee-jerk responses and says, oh, those are all fake, because they've put out this huge mission, basically, or agenda to debunk them. And it's like, okay, well, why do that? There's obviously something here to this. Are you trying to get us distracted away from this because you don't want us to know what the message of the crop circles are?
Well, you know what, Ira? I've come to a point in my life, and I think I've always been here, but I'm really there now, where I don't give a damn what anyone else says. I'm looking into things myself, and I'm coming up with my own determination whether something's true or not. That's like when people get mad and say, I'm telling you, Planet X is out there, you idiot. It's like, well, I'd love to take your word for it, but I've had people in my life who have told me they loved me and they robbed me when I was sleeping. So, I'm not going to just take your word for it. I want to see proof. And some people get mad about that. Well, I don't have to prove it. Look, because that's what I am. God, people talk about God. Well, God created me. And he created me exactly how he wanted me. So this is who I am, and I'm this way because he wanted it that way. So he wanted me to ask you for proof. So if you got a problem, take it up with God, because he's the one who wanted me to ask you.
Sure, exactly. There's a difference between being a debunker and being a skeptic. You're a lot like me, I know, where you have this idea that you want to have, as much proof as is possible for everything that you look at. That's just being a regular skeptic. You don't want to. You have an open mind, but it's not so open that your brain's falling out.
Well, right, and I've always wanted to keep the integrity of my show, and I don't ever want to be classified like some of those other kooks, like and get me wrong, I could mention some names here, and some of them have been onto some decent things at times, but for the most part, they're get hits on my site, get hits on my videos, come see my seminars, buy tickets for this. Make sure you donate enough money so I could go show you pictures of me at the pyramids again. Yeah. They want to do that stuff, and people fall for it. I don't want to be classified in any of those categories. I'm not with those people. Those people are on their own. They're greedy. They're part of the problem. They're liars. They're whatever they need to do to make a name for themselves and to get some money for their next trip to the pyramids. I'd love to go to the pyramids too, but I'm too busy trying to keep the damn lights on here.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So I'm not worried. If you want me to go to the pyramids and you want me to take pictures for you, I'd be glad to go, but I'm not going to ask you for it. But it's other people, it's like, and then they go and they say, oh, well, they come back with the reports. I touched it and I felt vibrations and beams came out and the ETs told me this and that, but they never have any proof of any of it. But you paid for it, $10,000. They took a nice flight, out to Egypt, and, they got to spend a luxurious week there in the pyramids and taking pictures. And you notice, they get a few pictures of themselves at the pyramids and they make it look like they're actually working. It's like they work up a sweat and they look at the camera. And that's it. The rest of the time, they're off having fun, drinks.
They're off in the sauna.
Oh, yeah, that's what they're doing. So I've always wanted to keep the integrity here, and that's why I want proof. I'm not going to make a mockery of this show and just say, well, yeah, that's got to be true because I believe it to be true. No, I don't need to believe it. I need to be proof, evidence. Like I could prove if you walk outside and kick a heavy brick, you're going to break your toe. You could prove that to me. So go kick it. But, when you tell me these stories, like, who knows? I mean, I've had it all. I've had so many. I understand that not everything could be proven. And some things are believable and about everything is possible. But, I can only go with what I could prove.
Right. And when it comes to like these crop circles, for instance, there's enough proof there to say that there is not 100% human intervention as we know it going on with these things. And that's what I find to be the at least the baseline to think of. We can look at it and say, okay, well, there's something that's going on there. There's something that we need to pay attention to, and it's something that's important, but it's not what we're being told. It's not guys with boards on their feet. It's not guys going out there in the middle of the night drunk and partying and deciding, hey, let's make a crop circle. It's not that. There have been those that are that, yes, but when you look at the overall evidence of them, it's just like there's the idea that you can go out and watch a football game with pro football players and it's one thing, but then a bunch of guys getting together drunk in the backyard playing football is something that's drastically different. No,
it's a lot more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, I'm getting to a point where backyard football just isn't going to work for me unless I'm the designated quarterback and I'm wearing the red jersey and you don't hit me.
I'm at the point of my life where I'm getting football injuries during my sleep. So, I blew out my knee during my sleep.
Yeah, or at least nothing else, wake up with a cramp from hell. But and there's a lot of things that some people don't believe in, and they'll say, well, you haven't proven that to me either. But the things that we hammer on here, they've been proven to me, like these underground tunnels, these cities built underneath the ground that have farms. I've seen the pictures. They're real, and they're not photoshopped. They've come from reliable sources. And some might say, well, just because you say it's a reliable source doesn't mean it is. Yeah, you're right. But for me, it is a reliable source, so I'll go with that. You don't have to, but I am.
Yeah, that's enough proof for you. And that's all that matters, is that it's proof enough for you. Everybody else has to be able to go out and find their own proof as well. That's the way that it comes.
Absolutely. And when something's ridiculous or not, and but you don't know if it's true or not until you've actually looked into it. We've got James on the line here. Ira, James, welcome.
How you doing, Michael? Hi, Ira.
Good. How are you?
Hello, James.
Doing pretty good. Like I told you, I was going to call in, but I could talk to you about it. That Patty Greer took the August 1996 Oliver Castle video of the two balls of light that actually created the crop circle.
Oh, yeah.
And supposedly that was, the guy supposedly admitted that he did it backwards and all that. That's a bunch of crap is what it was. What Patty Greer did, she slowed down the video. She just got a thought in her head to just slow the video down. And when she told the guy doing her video work, he slowed it down to like 33 1/3. And the two balls of light, just before they created the crop circle, they communicated with each other in binary code. And you can see it across the screen. It's really wild. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'd like to watch that video again because I think it'd have more meaning to me now that I've heard about these. Well, see, I thought they were crafts people were doing these things, but these are balls of light, and if they are
little energy balls,
they could
plasma.
What is it? Plasma?
Plasma balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's fascinating to me. That's why I say maybe time travel or another dimension, because, that factor right there. I guess if it was E.T., wouldn't E.T. be in a metallic craft?
Well, not necessarily. When you look into some of the ET phenomenon, a lot of the reports are that they're actually energy, vehicles, for lack of better words, that they actually look like they're created out of energy.
That's how the one looked that we seen, that me and Autumn seen, that big mothership. That's what it looked like. It looked like all energy, but you could tell there was something in there. You couldn't see through it. So It wasn't see-through, but yeah, it looked amazing.
That's how it was for one of mine as well. I had one that it was this energy type of craft that came along. It ran right up beside the van that I was driving down the highway with 12 other guys that I was driving, and it looked like this big, huge mass of energy, and it was really cool looking, but that. I couldn't see through it. It was just this big, huge, bright light, basically. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But so when you talk about the binary thing there, James, what came to my mind immediately was this crop circle that was done. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it was a crop circle that was done it must have been, I think, about 10 years ago at this point, where it looked like almost a printout of information. Have you seen that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
you have to put a name and a date to it.
It was almost like it was a response to the encoded message that was sent out by SETI like 10 years before.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that you're familiar with that one now. Yeah, and it was like this cool face that was there. It was like there was a bunch of writing and everything. It was like really cool, but it all looked like it was done in this binary type of style. So when you mentioned that the orbs were communicating binary style, that was what popped into my head immediately.
Yeah, I'll send Michael a copy of the video, and I've also got some crop circles that are spinning. They're sped up and they're spinning. And they look really wild. Like, it looks like one part's going one way and the inside's going the other way, and it's just like really crazy when you start spinning them at high speeds. I got some videos of those too.
Oh, I can't wait to watch them.
Yeah, you know, you were talking about the pyramids. That Jim Mars was on a tour with his wife, right? And his wife was taking a picture of something inside there, right? And someone was behind Jim Mars' wife taking a picture of her taking a picture. And what happened was, as she took the photo, the energy from her camera just got zapped right out of her camera, and the lady behind her caught Jim Mars' wife's camera and the energy leaving her camera. The picture never took, and they found out later, like when the woman went through her photos, that she found out why Jim Mars' wife's camera was not working, because the energy just got zapped right out, and you can see the energy leaving the camera. It's really wild. I could probably take a picture of that and send it too if you'd like.
Absolutely, yeah. Send me what you got. I'll definitely watch it. I try to find the time to watch these videos. Like today, I watched a 2-hour video, which I forced myself. So I gotta watch this. And boy, once I got started, I couldn't stop. These things are incredible. And, if people get interested in the UFO phenomena, or they're interested in even the New World Order stuff, they got to understand all this stuff. There's a connection. I mean, it's all part of the puzzle. And, these crop circles, they're amazing to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely tied together. There's no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. What we see going on in the chemtrails might be connected up to something that's going on in the space realm with the extraterrestrials, perhaps. There's a lot of evidence that shows that might be exactly what's going on. That it could be even related to the idea of Planet X going on. Who knows?
Hey,
it might be related to they're hiding. Like one thing that I've talked about before is this really kind of creepy idea that perhaps the chemtrails are there as a way to now create this hologram of the sky that we're seeing, instead of us being able to see the actual sky that's behind the hologram.
Well, Ira and James, I was thinking, we always ask, well, who exactly are we in debt to? Well, maybe that's it. Maybe whoever's in charge here hasn't paid the rent or the light bill for Earth. And so that's who we're in debt to. Maybe that's why, chemtrails for your sky.
Well, that reminds me, there was a book that was written not too long ago. It's called The Spin. I don't remember who is the author of it at this point in time. I'm sorry, but it was a really fascinating book where the writer basically came up with this idea that the Earth was being running at like what we would consider to be normal speed, but everything outside of the atmosphere of the planet Earth was running at this really super high speed, and that the time of even like 20 or 30 years passing by here on Earth, over 1 million years passed on the outside, and that we were sort of trapped in this existence here on Earth. Maybe something like that has occurred, and we just don't know.
Yeah, kind of like we sent the criminals right to Australia before it was Australia,
yes.
Right? So,
yes.
And look, it became a country, right? So they sent the criminals here to Earth and caged us. Well, we can make something nice out of it if we wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Australia. I mean, I know a lot of people from Australia, and a lot of them are proud of the fact that they what they have now came from this origin of them, being prisoners and being sent over there against their will, and now they've built something really cool to be proud of.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else, James? And I definitely want those videos, so please send them.
I just got one other thing. Did you ever hear Linda Moulton's work on the Dragonfly drones? That the crop circles themselves were actually blueprints to make an anti-gravity craft. And the military was, as soon as they came up there looking first thing in the morning, they'd go and they'd wipe the crop circle off, because it was basically a blueprint on how to make anti-gravity devices. And they were really weird. They were looking like almost like a fireplace poker or just like a dragonfly. And they flew. And what they were saying that there was a lab in Palo Alto, California that was recreating these. And they said that with the drawings, as soon as they put one of the pieces together with the other piece, it just started lifting up and started floating right in the air in front of them. Just a small scale. But they say that the blueprints were perfect just for making anti-gravity craft. This is back in about 2008.
Well, that's interesting, and I like Linda Motenhall, and I've had her on this show a few times, but I think she's been doing Coast to Coast gave her some kind of segment that she does there now. And I'm willing to bet, because she hasn't answered me, I'm willing to bet that they told her no more late night in the Midlands.
I believe they did.
Yeah, because she used to get right back to me, and she won't get back to me now. So must have, we'll cut the rope, Linda, if you go over there. But I still respect her. I mean, I think she's a great researcher. I like her work. I don't, some people talk crap about her, but they talk crap about everybody. And I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with her except for she's on Coast to Coast, but.
Yeah, I find her work very fascinating myself. I think that she's right on the right track with a lot of stuff that she talks about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, still, oh, go ahead, James.
Yeah, I see her in a couple weeks, so I'm going to ask her to come on, please come on, just for a little bit, I think she'll do it.
Well, I appreciate that.
I got some stuff that she's interested too, and maybe she'll just pay me back for giving her this stuff. I gave her some stuff last year, and she should have come on. I don't know why she didn't. That's probably why, because she was told not to. But I'll get around. I'll try real hard.
Yeah, tell her.
Michael, y'all take it easy.
All right, James. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later, and let Linda know that if she comes on, we'll run it on Art Bell's network, which will be better than Coast to Coast. So, but yeah, I think that's what goes on. I mean, it's it's like, and the reason I say this, I don't want to start a Coast bash here, but the reason I say it is because I know that the Dark Matter Radio Network had Jimmy Church was kind of like, he was their main attraction there for a little while, and kind of warming the seat, I guess you'd say. He wasn't filling in for Art by no means, but he was their, primetime show, and Coast to Coast quickly made him an offer to take him away, to throw another stab at Art Bell. And they dangled the golden carrot, and of course, he sold out and he went and did it. But some people are in it for the fame and fortune. Other people are in it because they want to help others. You could determine who those people are. I just told you about one, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, if Coast to Coast had come to me and asked, hell no. Nope. I'm sorry. I've got morals. I wouldn't have done it. And
you've got pride.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, I understand, people got to feed their kids and what have you. So do what you got to do. But yeah, that's why I say that, because they did that. They prove it all the time that that's how they are. I mean, let's face it. To them, it's a business. It's a cutthroat business. It's like they'll step on anybody they have to stay on top. And that's the way it is. Me, I just do what I do. I feel like I'm on top every day, so I don't care.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly how I do things too. I put out the effort, and if people want to listen, they'll listen, and if not, then not. It's up to them. It's not up to me. I'm doing my job.
Well, exactly. And for some, it's about it's about being number one. And who are you really number one to? Really, I mean, like Coastal brag, oh, we're the number one radio show in the nighttime. No, you're not. You're the number one show in the wee hours of the morning when everybody's laying in bed and there's nothing else to listen to. That's when you're number one. I would challenge them to, take other means. They need to. I don't know. It used to be good. I don't want to sit here and keep bashing them. Everyone knows how I feel about Coast to Coast. Once they took it from Art Bell, they destroyed it. It sucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it had some hope when John B. Wells was there, and then they get rid of him. And Ian Punnett, I liked him too. He's gone. Coast to Coast sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it just
absolutely.
Does.
I don't disagree. Well, one thing that popped into my head when James was talking about the craft, the anti-gravity craft and the dragonfly thing, what popped into my head, and I don't know if you've seen much about this, but there's these little artifacts that have been found over the years, especially like from South America, where they look like little insects. They were labeled as being like replicas or representations of insects, but if you look at them, they look like they're little miniature spaceships that also look at the same time like insects. And the thing that popped into my head is, I wonder if these people back during those days, which were, these were made thousands of years ago. I wonder if maybe they saw some of these crop circles and they had the same idea as these guys over at JPL or whatever, who put these things together to say, hey, let's see what happens.
Well, that could be. The one thing I don't believe, I mean, we could say our government has secret this and secret that, and they do, okay? And I believe they have a secret space program, but I don't believe, not for 1 minute, and I've seen no evidence, I should say, that would tell me in any way that the government would be behind these crop circles.
No, I haven't either.
No, for one thing, they're too beautiful. If they were behind it, it would be fear. You'd see the devil's head in a crop, or something.
Scenes of nuclear destruction from Russia doing something wrong, or Iran, I guess, would be the better point at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we probably just gave them an idea. It's like, ooh, yeah, let's put the devil's head in there, and then you'll have all the radical religious people marching in the streets saying, "Satan is here! Satan is here! He's always been here. Right now,
he's in the corn.
He's in the White House." I mean, my Lord. But did you hear, I heard through the grapevine today, I forget, somebody sent it to me. I watched this video, the White House, their spokesperson there, the yes man, the other guy that's got a puppet, hand up his puppet butt. He says, Obama would like for the media to cover the president and his doings differently. They'd like, so basically the dictator has basically said, we're going to have to make a change here in the media. We can't.
Yes, I saw actually Obama himself said that the media, we have to change how the media portrays different events going on.
Yes, got it. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I don't even bother with the media. And then they act like they're exposing something. Look, we've talked about this for a long time. We know it's all phony. That's like right here. I watch. I just got this email. Okay, just came. Ron Paul, it says. Okay, these guys are no better in my opinion anymore. Oh, the House leadership just rammed through this USA Freedom Act. Ba. Okay, help us out. Donate $10. Donate $20. Because Rand Paul's going to do a filibuster, so they want money now. Oh, so what? I'm supposed to pay him to speak? He's already getting paid.
How's the money going to help the filibuster?
Exactly. Well, that's what it says here. It says he's going to do a filibuster. He needs your support. Donate now. Donate for what? You get the puppet out, the hand out of your puppet butt, and maybe I'll consider it. All right?
Yeah, you're already there. You're already getting paid to do what it is that you're supposed to do. Aren't you getting a yearly salary? Isn't that what you're there for?
Well, exactly. And God knows what. Look, I don't trust any of these guys anymore. Ron Paul, bless him. He got a lot of truth out there, but really, I think what they put him there for was to make us look even crazier. I think that's all that was, because let's face it, he got very little talking time. We knew he wasn't going to get elected. So, but I loved what he apparently stood for, but I don't trust any of these guys, because if they were real, they'd know that they don't have a chance unless something changes, big changes. They're not going to get elected in, and the votes are fixed. So
yeah, absolutely. I've said for a long time that anything above county level, it's all rigged, and I think even that could be as well, really easily. You don't get into these big offices without owing a debt to somebody, and they're going to ask for that payment. It's just
they don't ask. They don't ask. They bribe you. Like they'll invite you to these parties, and then you get there, and they'll put like underage girls or something in there, and then they'll take pictures of you, and then they'll say, "Well, hey, now look, we would hate for these to get out to the media."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then they've got you, and in a lot of cases, these guys didn't even know. They just showed up because they figured, hey, we got to impress the boss, right? So they get there, and then bam, they're owned. And, so maybe some of them don't know, but let's face it, a guy like Rand Paul, he's been in this racket for a while. He knows that the game is rigged. So don't try to talk with me. I'm sick of talking. For me, well, it's my job, but I am. I'm sick of hearing these guys talk. I want to see action. Let's hear. We've ordered our military to go arrest. Let's hear that. Start arresting these guys. I want to see Obama in cuffs. I want to see Bush in cuffs. Clinton, too. Both of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, both of them. And no bond, no bail. Stick them in there. Let's try these people. That's what I want to see. When they do that, then they'll get my attention. They'll also get my donation. But the talking's my job, not theirs. Their job's not to talk. Their job is for action. They're supposed to be protecting us and doing the right thing, and they're not. They're all bought and paid for.
Absolutely. And it is disgusting to me. Absolutely. I look at what happens in a lot of the laws that they pass and the things that they do, and it's always to benefit themselves or their cronies. Every bit of it. It's not about we the people. It's about, them. And they're not us, no matter how much people try to think that the everyman kind of persona that they put out on TV and on these advertisements, and when they're up there on the media screen, that's an act, that's a known form of propaganda called plainclothes propaganda. Well, they do it all the time.
Well, look, the presidency is a big fix anyways, because Ira, could you or I run? No, I mean, let's face it. Honestly, no, we couldn't. I mean, we could say we're going to run, and we could get a couple ballots, and we could go on a few shows and talk the talk. But when it comes down to it, do you have the millions and millions of dollars it's going to take you to even get noticed? Because they make it that way. The game is rigged that way. First off, you've got to be at least a minion of the elite to even get considered in that game, just to be in the running. I mean, again, the game's fixed, so you'll be lucky if you could get, I guess you'd call it the playoffs, right? But don't expect the Super Bowl, because you're going to get knocked out in the wild card. But we'll let you in, donate your millions of dollars. So you and I, we wouldn't have a chance. What we need is a real person to just put up the challenge, and every single one of us Americans, of us sane Americans, back this person up. And then we know, hey, we all voted for him, so how the hell can he have lost?
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. I guess that's what it'll take to wake people up, but you're not going to change it. His filibuster, it's a waste of time. I wouldn't even turn the TV on to listen to it. I mean, for what?
No, I wouldn't either.
He's going to tell you everything you already know, and then you also know that afterwards, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to get done.
He's going to be up there sweating and panting, and nothing will happen. The way I look at it is, why would somebody in their right minds spend millions of dollars to get voted to be put into an office where they only get paid $150,000 a year? There's obviously other benefits that go with it besides that.
Yeah, well, I think that there should be, these senators, these congressmen and all that. Yeah, I think they're in there too long, first off. And I think that it's become a rich man. Well, I know it's become a rich man's game. And, it's up to us to change it. If it's going to be changed, we need to do it. We can't expect the police to do it. The military is controlled by the bad guys, so we can't expect that. It's going to come down to us making no. I mean, there's a few hundred million of us, in this country, in the United States, and all we need is half of that. And the bottom line is this. We were talking about Billy Meyer last night, and the bottom line is this. I believe it 100%. I think I've seen enough evidence to say, yeah, this country is in for a huge wake-up call. And people, you better get awake, because it's coming. It's happening. It's not going to be... You've grown up. We've been spoiled. We've watched on TV as other countries have been hit, and we've been told it's to protect America. Well, folks, you better protect your own, because it's coming. It's coming here, and it's planned. They know it's coming. They want it to come. And it's, I'm telling you, it's going to get ugly. The country is going to get split up. There is going to be rising sea levels. There is going to be catastrophe. It's all coming. Everything that has been said. Now, as far as Planet X and all that, I don't know. But with the weather modification going on, and with the military movements going on, and with the Russia, China, United States, Middle East, look, if you can't see it for what it is, that you're just in denial. So I would prepare. I'd have plenty of drinking water, and before you even get any of that, get plenty of ammo and lock and load. Lock and freaking load. I'm sick of hearing people say, get out of the way and let it happen. Jesus will come back and save us, or the aliens will come and save us. No. you're going to have to save us. We're going to have to save us. Nobody else is doing it. I hate to break it to you, but if they were, well, Fukushima, I mean, Ira, we could go back how many incidents that they could have come and helped us out, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hundreds of times in just even the past 10 years alone that people have needed help and not gotten help, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you can go back to Chernobyl. You can go back. How about the Holocaust, for crying out loud? I mean, either any one of them. I mean, there was many of them. How about the poor Native Americans when they were getting slaughtered for just teaching people how to grow food? I mean, my Lord, right? Where was E.T. and Jesus then? I mean, and I'm not mocking or knocking Jesus or any of that stuff. I'm just telling people it's okay to have those belief systems and that kind of faith, but don't let it control. Don't let it be so much that you sit back and do nothing. I mean, sitting back and doing nothing is not an option anymore. If you got kids or grandkids, I mean, the most I hear people who don't have kids and things, they're the ones say, "Oh, I don't care. Let it come. I'm ready to go." Good for you. I've got kids and I want them to have a good life. And that's my job, to see to it that their future is somewhat intact. That's everybody's job. And so when I hear people talk like that, it's like, well, that's great. But, there's 12 and 13-year-olds who aren't ready to go. All right? So maybe we ought to fight for them if you don't want to fight for yourself.
Exactly. Fight for the kids that you may not have now, but you might in the future,
Fight for the kids who may be taking care of you when you're old and gray. And then they're going to remember that you did nothing, and who knows what they'll stick in your IV then. So
you got it.
But Ira, we're out of time. Anything you want to get out there before we're done?
Just everybody, don't fear. That's the biggest thing. Don't fear. It'll keep you in place and make it so that you can't do anything. Don't fear. Don't be afraid. Laugh in their faces. That's what it takes.
Yeah, check out those crop circles.
Exactly.
All right, folks. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I do appreciate it. We've got, what do we got coming up tomorrow night? We've got Becky M. Porchot, I think it is. No, not pork chop, Porchot. We're going to be hitting the paranormal realm. On Friday, we've got Robert Morningstar joining us. We're going to be talking about the secret space program. So a couple more great shows coming up this week before we hit the weekend. I hope you'll join us. Keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see. Keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Ira, thank you. Everybody else, thank you so much. Good night, everybody.